Next, I'm going to show you how to create stems for your music tracks. Let's say you're in a situation where the song is done, the producer or the editor on a TV show or commercial loves the mix, but they want some stems, which means they don't want your entire Pro Tools file. They just want different sections or groups separated into different files, like the drums, the bass, the guitars, and the vocals. This way they can still remix your song and adjust some levels, but they don't need the entire file, which will require all your plugins and settings and whatnot. So it gives them some control of your mix, but it still simplifies the process. So let me show you how to do that in Pro Tools. We'll start off with the drums, select them all, and we're also going to select the drum reverb return. We want the reverb in there as well. Go to the output, hold down Option-Shift on Mac, Alt-Shift on the PC, and change it from main output to a new track. We'll make a stereo audio track, and we'll name it All Drums. Once again, that'll create a new track or a new bus, but in this situation, we don't even need that new track. So we're going to delete it, but it did serve a purpose, because it created a new bus for us that we named automatically, rather than setting up a new one in the I/O setup and then choosing it with the bus menu. It's just a little trick I like to use to quickly create a new bus and name it. So now all our drum tracks and our drum reverb return are being sent to our all drums bus. So now we can right click it and choose bounce all drums. And it's just going to bounce into a new file, everything going to that bus, and it's the entire session. And then for file type, we'll choose WAV files, format, interleaved, or stereo. The bit depth will be 24-bit, and the sample rate, 44.1. Obviously, you're going to choose what works for you in your session. Then we're going to choose import after bounce. We want to bring the file back into Pro Tools. And then we're going to name it All Drums. And also down here, I'm going to choose offline. This way, Pro Tools will bounce this file as quick as possible instead of in real time, which is a huge time saver. Hit bounce, and it creates that file of just the drums. Now it's going to import that file to a new track. And we'll choose to have it line up with the session start. Hit OK. And it creates this new track named All Drums, which is our first stem. So now I want to double check to make sure our drum mix is exactly the same in the stem as it was before. So I have a trick for doing that. We'll select all our drums and the drum reverb, switch them back to main output, and put a trim plugin on the stem. Then we can invert the phase or polarity on that track using that plugin and compare it to our drum mix. It should disappear or cancel out completely.
I would brave the last frontier to get to you, I'll get you here. Nothing's gonna keep me.
So we don't hear any drums because the stem track cancels out with the drum mix, which means it's exactly the same. We'll get rid of the trim plugin. So now we can select the drums and the reverb and deactivate them. This way they don't use any DSP and we're not hearing them. So let's see how the stem sounds with the rest of the mix.
I would brave the last frontier to get to you, I'll get you here. Nothing's.
Next we'll do the bass. Again, we'll switch the output to new track to create a new bus. This time, we're going to make the bus mono because the bass is mono, audio track, and name it bass. Once again, we could delete this track because we don't need it. We have a bass bus. Then right-click this and choose Bounce Bass. Again, do all that same stuff, except this time the format is mono. And name it Bass, offline, and hit Bounce. Again, new track, session start, hit OK. And now we have the bass track as a stem, processed exactly as it was in the mix. So now we'll switch the output back to the main output, add that plugin to the stem, the trim plugin right here, reverse the polarity, and let's see if the bass disappears.
I would break the last frontier to get to you, I'll get you here.
And it does. Let's remove the trim plugin, deactivate this track, and let's hear the stem in the mix.
I would break the last frontier.
Sounds good. Let's do the same thing to the acoustic guitars. New track. This time we'll make it stereo. Name it Acoustic Guitars. Create. Delete it. Bounces acoustic guitar. Stereo interleaved. Name it Acoustic Guitar. And bounce it. New track. Session start. And we have that stem right here. Then we'll add the trim plugin, reverse the polarity, put these back to main out. Now let's hear it back and see if it cancels.
I would break the last frontier to get to you, I'll get you here. Nothing's gonna keep me far from you. Ooh.
We'll get rid of the trim plugin, make the guitars inactive, and let's hear it with the stem.
I would break the last frontier to get you.
And finally, we'll do the vocals. Now the vocals, like the drums, we need to add the effects as well. Well, the effects returns. So we're going to select them too and send all of them to their own bus. Make it a stereo bus. Name it All Vocals. Delete the bus. And bounce it out. We'll name it All Vocals. And there it is, the vocal stem. We'll set up the trim plugin again, invert the polarity, and we'll compare it to our vocal mix. Let's see if it disappears. Then we'll deactivate our vocal tracks. And then we're going to move all stems together so they're easier to see. Then we can play them.
I would break the last frontier to get to you, I'll get you here. Nothing's.
And we can create a mix just by using our stems.
Nothing's gonna keep me far from you. Ooh. Watch me as I disappear, going through the stratosphere, on a rocket as I pass the moon. Girl, you should know that I wanna know that I'm gonna find some way to get to you.
So it's pretty simple. By giving the editor or the producer just a few elements, they're able to rebalance your track using these little submixes with just a few elements to work with. And in this situation, we ended up with 4 files. So now we just have to export them to send them off. So we'll select them, select all, open this over here, and choose Export Clips as Files. And from here, we can export them. We'll do 24-bit, 44.1, whatever you need. We could share it with SoundCloud or Gobbler. Or what I usually do is send it to my Dropbox. We download it there. So that's pretty much it. That's creating stems in Pro Tools. Let's move on.